town land use ordinances must meet minimum standards of enabling state statutes and administrative rules. All applications being heard tonight are being weighed against the law and ordinances in effect at the time the application was filed. A staff report has been prepared for the applications, and the staff report was available 7 days before tonight's hearing. The staff report identifies the approval criteria that apply to the applicant's proposed development and analyzes those criteria. A copy of the rules of procedure for the hearing, the agenda for tonight's hearing, and copies of the staff report are available at the entrance at the front of the room. All those in attendance are asked to sign the attendance sheet, and please include your address. Briefly, each item will begin with the applicant, who has the burden of proof, and his or her representative will make an introductory statement, including testimony as to why the proposal or other relief should be granted. The applicant or representative will be allowed up to 20 minutes. The town attorney and any other town, county, state, or federal agencies' comments will be presented. Persons who are present and support the application will be heard next. Individuals will be allowed up to 3 minutes. Correspondence in support of the application will be entered into the record. Questions may then be directed to the proponents through the presiding officer, which is myself. Persons who are present and who oppose the application will then be heard. Individuals will be allowed up to 3 minutes. Correspondence in opposition to the application will be entered into the record. Questions may then be directed to the opponents through the presiding officer. For persons who are neutral but have questions, they will come next. Individuals, again, will be allowed up to 3 minutes. The applicant is then given the final rebuttal, at which time the public hearing will be closed. Members of the commission and the town attorney may direct questions to the applicant or opponents to assist in arriving at a decision. The commission will make a decision or continue its deliberation to another time and place. Testimony and evidence from all concerned shall be specific to the applicable criteria and standards. Testimony should also not be repetitious. Please do not repeat testimony offered by yourself or by earlier witnesses. Also, please refrain from demonstrations such as applause, cheering, or other disruptions, which are prohibited. Any person wishing a continuance to present additional evidence and testimony, or to keep the record open to respond to new evidence, must make that request public before the testimony portion of the hearing is closed. If the Planning Commission makes a decision you disagree with, any issue you want to raise on appeal has to have been raised for the Planning Commission's consideration. Failure to have raised an issue on the record with sufficient specificity and accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to have afforded the Town Commission and the parties to this proceeding to respond to that issue will preclude appeal on that issue to the Land Use Board of Appeals. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues related to proposed conditions of approval.
This conference will now be recorded.
Good. No. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the Commission to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in circuit court. All persons testifying at this hearing must be recognized by the chair, approach the podium, and state your name and address. Okay. Members of the Commission will expose any ex parte conflict of interest or bias prior to each agenda item. And on a slightly less official note, I'm just going to say it's been a lousy last 3 or 4 months. Tempers are high, everybody's stressed. Take a deep breath, be nice to each other. Okay,
Tom, I would recommend that you, chairperson, I would recommend that you specifically announce the first, if you're getting conflicts for the very first one. That way it's very clear what you're dealing with.
first item on our agenda is land use application number 746, Bob and Davis Volunteer. Do any commissioners have any ex parte contact or any conflicts of interest you need to reveal at this time?
As town planner, I provided applications and planning information to the applicants. For tonight's hearing.
Thank you. All right. Okay, am I pronouncing your name right, Mr. Bobbington?
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, members of the commission, my name is Travis Bombingen. I'm the son of Bob and Mavis. I reside in Demopolis, Wyoming. A little bit of a travel between out here. It wasn't for the intent of this. I just kind of got wrangled into this. I understand you guys have a busy meeting, so I'll kind of cut to the point. I believe you guys have the proposed request in front of you for the lot 5100, requesting that a garage be put on the adjacent piece of property that was allowed when they brought the two lots 5100 and 5000 together. In considering some of the requests or the ordinances of the area, part of the ordinance was a request that the driveways be 50 feet apart from one another. Currently, in the current proposal, it's 32 feet. They would like to adjust the variance request to bring it 6 feet closer to their current dwelling, which would mean it would then be 38 feet from Mr. Stoppel's driveway and be closer to that 50-foot mark. Change number 2, the proposed request was for a 982 square foot detached garage, and they're requesting that be changed to a 32-foot wide, so the width would change, but just the depth going from 32 feet to 40 feet, so it'd be 1280. And that would then bring it closer to the street, which would be in line with everything else. And again, I think make everything a little bit more balanced and more in line to try to avoid some variances within the buildings. And so we were trying to kind of read your guys' rules and try to work within that. So if those would be the only 2 changes. If the commission doesn't want those changes, then they're fine with that. But we're trying to work within your guys' rules. That was the request. Does the commission need to hear more in regards to what you guys have here, or is that sufficient?
Any of the commissioners want to hear more verbal testimony, or you read over the packet provided?
I've read over what I could, yes. It's been messy, yes. I think we're good.
Okay. Have attorney have any comments?
No.
Okay. Are there any other county or state officials here to comment? Seeing none. Is there anybody present here to support the application? Other than yourself. Does anybody have any questions for the petitioner? Is there anybody present to oppose the petition? Any questions in opposition? Neutral parties with questions? Okay,
Mr. Chair, there was no correspondence.
no correspondence. All right. There's really been no commentary or final rebuttal. If you've got the final comments, though, this is the time for them.
No, just those 2 small changes, and again, the purpose of the thing, if we can show pictures of what the structure will be, trying to keep roof lines, everything else the same, keep everything in line. And so again, trying to work within the current ordinances as much as possible.
Okay, any members of the commission have questions for the petitioner? Okay, I do have a couple questions for you. Okay, in your application, you said you plan to hook up your electric and water, but not sewer.
Correct.
What do you plan to do with wastewater?
I'm not sure, are you gonna have water in the building?
Well, like outside water.
Yeah, so water spigot outside is all, there's no plan to have internal water such as sinks or toilet.
Okay, there's an extra over there.
Yes, sir.
Has appropriate notification to all neighbors been made?
Yes.
None to speak up for or against? All right. Okay. The members of the commission have no further questions. We will close testimony at this time.
Thank you.
Any commentary from the commissioners?
I would just point out that the photograph that they have been provided in their application shows the infrastructure impediments that doesn't allow them to meet the driveway setback.
Do any changes to their request? Square footage require a fresh start to this, or can we amend their petition, amend the application? Now, that's a question aimed towards our professionals here.
Exactly.
Look at the driveway actually brings closer to this. But it's also a substantial increase in square footage. Yeah.
It's still within the range of previous variance approvals that we've done.
I would agree with that. I don't know.
It's my inclination to not require the applicant to go through this again. I want to make sure we keep everything on the legal side. Okay, do I have a motion? Please. We need a motion to vote on whether or not to approve his application as amended.
So we're going
As amended.
Did you make the motion? With changes?
It has been moved and seconded to approve application number 746 for an accessory structure with square footage in excess of code and driveway closer to the adjoining driveway than is code.
Looking for a second?
Yeah, I think we got a second. Okay. Any further discussion? Those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Right. Thank you, Mrs. Bobbitt. You're welcome to stay for festivities if you like, you're not required to.
Yes.
Okay, that was the easy one. Let's move on to the second item on our agenda. Remand, public hearing on planned zone map amendment, application number 739 by Ross and Kelly McGarva for comprehensive plan and land use district map amendments to change the plan and zone designation for one parcel from residential to residential multifamily located at 207 North L Street in Lakeview. Again, conflict of interest, ex parte contact, many members of the commission.
As town planner, I provided applications and planning process information to that.
Others? Okay, just make sure there's no questions farther down the road. What could be considered potential conflict of interest on my part? At the first hearing for this, Mr. McGarva mentioned that many of the residents would not be driving, but would even walk or depend on bicycles for transportation. Because I do own the local bicycle shop, that could be construed as a benefit to my business. I do not believe Mr. McGarva intended it in that manner. I believe he was simply stressing the low impacts of parking and traffic. I do not believe the economic impact will have any noticeable effect on my business. I do not believe there's conflict on my part. As for ex parte contact, I have walked and driven past the property numerous times in the course of just daily life, so I have seen and looked at and am aware of the neighborhood, the condition of the building, the condition of surrounding buildings. Okay. Next.
This is Jennifer Greger, attorney representing the McGarvas. I heard I hear the chair's voice very well, but I think that the woman next to you had disclosed something, but I couldn't hear her at all.
Jennifer, that was Janine Cannon, the planning official, and she just disclosed that as town planner, she had provided both planning process and the application to the applicant. That was her disclosure, the same one she made on the last.
Jeff,
Okay, thank you.
why don't you come back here, because it's hard to hear you too.
All right.
I'll just speak up. It's not easy close.
Okay, well,
And Michelle, we kind of need you controlling the.
Okay, well, let's speak up.
I'll speak up.
all right. Jennifer, are you here to represent the McGarvas?
I am.
Okay.
Are you ready for me?
Yes, please. You have 20 minutes to.
Okay. My name is Jennifer Greger. I represent the applicants Ross and Kelly McGarva. My address is 121 Southwest Morrison Street, Suite 1850, Portland, Oregon 97204. And on behalf of myself and the McGarvas who are on the phone, I want to thank the Planning Commission and staff for coordinating electronic attendance at this meeting during the COVID-19 public health emergency. As the city staff report has described, the McGarvas have applied for a zone change and comprehensive plan map amendment to change the zoning on their property located at 207 N Street, Lakeview, Oregon. The zone change will adjust the zoning from single-family residential to residential multifamily and add a multifamily sub-district overlay on the property to allow the ultimate development of permanently supported housing that will be accomplished in partnership with Lake District Hospital and the Klamath Housing Authority. As the staff report found, the proposed zone change application meets the land use requirements, statewide planning goals, and comprehensive plan policies. Lakeview is not the first community to struggle with the location of housing for people with disabilities. However, there are significant legal constraints that govern how the city must assess the land use application for housing to serve this population. First, as the zone change materials state, people who suffer from mental illness are considered disabled under the Americans with Disabilities Act. In addition, people who are in treatment for substance use disorder, a portion of the population to be served at the site, are considered disabled under the ADA. As a population that is disabled, the Fair Housing Act adds another layer of legal constraints to govern housing decisions about this population. The Fair Housing Act prevents the city from making land use decisions that are based on the character of the people who will live in this affordable housing development. Any reliance on public testimony that draws on stereotypical conclusions about the character of potential tenants is improper. The second layer of legal constraints is set forth under state law governing needed housing. Under state law, needed housing includes all housing at any income levels. Here, this zone change is an application submitted to address needed housing. Thus, the McGarvis zone change qualifies for certain state law protections. Under ORS 1973074, only clear and objective standards can be applied to applications related to needed housing. The Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals has relied on dictionary definitions in the Rogue Valley Association of Realtors case 35 Fort Luba 139. And the definition of clear is easily understood without obscurity or ambiguity. And the definition of objective is independent of what is personal or private in our apprehension and feelings. The easy examples of clear and objective standards are specific standards that allow buildings up to 35 feet or require a rear yard setback of 20 feet. In contrast, the city zone change criteria under Development Code Section 4.7300B are not clear and objective. The use of terms like consistent, adequate, and evidence of change in the community are subjective terms that call for interpretation. The applicant raises its objections to the use of subjective standards as applied to this application. Nonetheless, the applicant has provided and continues to provide information to show that this application meets the city's criteria, and the staff report reflects further findings in this regard. With this introduction, I want to turn to the merits of the application. The McGarvis have endeavored to create a public-private partnership to develop the subject property with permanent supportive housing. The county and city have an affordable housing shortage, and this application will help meet the dire need of a range of people from veterans to those with disabilities who will benefit from a housing-first model to stabilize their lives and provide the opportunity for wraparound services to ensure their health and safety and the health and safety of the community. I want to address the final criterion first because it really sets the stage for meeting the remaining criteria. Under Community Development Code Section 4.7300B4, the applicant must show evidence of change in the community to justify the zone change. I've represented clients across the state in similar proposals, from the city of Coos Bay to Washington County and Hood River, Oregon. In all of those places, none is as uniquely situated as this proposal to make a meaningful dent in providing housing to address the point-in-time count of homeless people with such a small parcel of property. As stated in the application, the point-in-time count for homeless people throughout Lake County in January 2020 was 151 people. With this proposal as the first step towards a development that will ultimately result in 15 to 18 dwelling units, at least 10 to 12% of the need will be met on 0.17 acres of land. As the staff report notes, only 13 acres of land is currently zoned multifamily and is subject to steep slopes, making development of housing in that location difficult. The evidence provided in the applicant's burden of proof and attached grant application narrative of pages 2 through 12 of the application in the record summarize the community change and the increasing need for affordable and permanent supportive housing in the city. Additional support is found in the 2019 housing needs analysis, but is also included in the record. Further, the city's 1999 adopted housing needs analysis identified that multifamily and manufactured homes would be the city's method for meeting affordable housing needs. The staff report identified the needed units for those combined housing types as 72 units. Since that time, only 26 multifamily units have been constructed and no additional manufactured homes, leaving an unmet need of 46 units. However, taken as a whole, the application, the information in the 2019 housing needs analysis, and staff report show a far greater unmet need. In addition, the public comment, despite its focus on the character of the people who live at the site, established the community has a problem with housing supply, with reference to squatters and others without permanent shelter. Based on all of this data and information in the record, the application meets this criteria. Now, turning to the Planning Code sections 4.7, 300B1 and 2, the application must meet the statewide planning goals and comprehensive plan policies. While the zone change application will apply multifamily zoning in the multifamily sub-district overlay in this already residential zone property, the goal for development of permanent supportive housing is integral to this decision and provides the basis and context for the most relevant statewide planning goal finding 10 and the related comprehensive plan findings. The July 3rd, 2020 staff report at pages 3 through 6 does a good job of providing the hard data for goal 10 findings in support of this application. I have also reviewed the Housing Land Advocates letter submitted today and requested the Planning Commission incorporate the additional goal 10 findings as set forth therein on pages 1 and the top of page 2 of that letter to supplement staff's findings. The staff report combines the consistency with some of the city's comprehensive plan policies related to housing on page 4. Similarly, Housing Land Advocates letter at pages 2 through 3 provide additional supplemental findings for the policies. The applicant requests the Planning Commission adopt these supplemental findings. In addition, some of the public comment could be construed to implicate other plan policies. A few comments were raised about lack of notification of the application related to plan policies 1B, 1 through 6. Any concern about opportunities to participate are resolved by the city's decision to reopen the hearings process through this hearing tonight and the subsequent town council meeting. While Plan Policy 2B1 opens the door for opponents to raise concerns about the impact of this zone change on property values, this is an impermissible basis to deny this project. The Disability Rights of Oregon letter responds to such concerns raised by the public about safety, property values, and other related matters when used to deny proposals for housing that impact protected classes. In response to alternative sites under Plan Policy 2B6, no other property has come forward with a proposal for this permanent supportive housing, and there is no other site available to this public-private partnership formed by the McGarvis, Lake County Hospital, and Klamath Housing Authority. Some public comments related to traffic impacts at this particular intersection. The applicant relies on the staff report findings under Goal 14 to address any relevant comprehensive plan policies. Further, the zone change is not proposing a specific development permit approval, but instead is proposed as the initial step in the development of permanent supportive housing on this site. The city has adopted the development code to implement transportation safety, and any future proposed site plan will be required to show safe design related to transportation facilities. One of the plan policies under urbanization, policy 14B8, states that uses with undesirable noise, smoke, odor, visual, and other objectionable characteristics may be prohibited from locating in areas where such conditions are incompatible with surrounding area development. This kind of policy speaks to noisy uses like incinerators next to residential uses, or sriracha factories that have bad smells and emissions that make people's eyes sting. In other words, this policy speaks to basic protections from citing industrial uses too close to residential uses. The provision does not prohibit housing development on a property already zoned for housing. Nonetheless, some public comment during hearings focused on loud dogs or other characteristics of potential tenants in the ultimate development that some people would subjectively argue fall under this policy. However, these comments should not be considered in analyzing this plan policy for the reasons described in the Disabilities Rights Reporting Letter. Further, other laws like nuisance, as it pertains to dogs and high levels of residential noise, would protect other residential neighbors from one another, whether single family next to single family or single family next to multifamily. A finding of consistency with the statewide planning goals and comprehensive plan and adequate public facilities policies can be found based on the application materials, staff report, materials in the record, and this further testimony. Thank you for your consideration of this information and fair application of the city code, subject to the legal constraints I have described. The McGarvis application is part of the solution to provide us stable housing for Lakeview's disabled population, veterans, and others who need a stable housing environment that makes services available to help stabilize yet other aspects of those residents' lives. Please approve this application and help take this important step to finding a community-based solution to chronic homelessness. I am available for questions, as well as the McGarvis and other team members. I will also provide closing remarks in response to additional further comment later in the hearing tonight.
Is that all you have? For now?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay. Mr. Edlin, anything to have first?
Yes, Jennifer, could you, give us, we got some of it, but can you give us the, which requested findings from the housing advocate letter you were requesting that the commission make again?
The page number?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me just put it up from here. So for the city's comprehensive plan policies, it's pages 2 through 3. And for the goal 10 findings, it is pages 1 and 2.
Thank you.
Anything else to have first?
No.
We have any other town, state, county, or federal officials who wish to present? Okay, persons who are present and support the application will be heard next. Individuals will be allowed up to 3 minutes. Correspondence in support of the application will be entered into the record. And there's a substantial stack of correspondence on both sides. Okay. Stuff I had ahead of time, plus the additional documents or application when I write.
So you're asking just for those in favor. So we have a letter dated July 9, Mike and Donna Newcomb. They are out of town and unable to attend and support the application. We also have
You need to let me, I'll translate for you, so. We have a letter from Donna Newcomb and Mike Newcomb dated July 9th. We have a letter of July 9th in reference to the applicant's testimony from the Fair Housing Council of Oregon. We have a letter of July 13th from the Housing Land Advocate. And then we also have a letter of July 8, 2018 from Disability Rights Oregon in support of the application.
All right.
Is now the time for testimony?
Yes, please, Mr. Sorensen.
Dawn, can you move that? Or Michelle, can you move that so that Jennifer's able to see the Jennifer, can you see the podium all right?
See the podium now?
Yes, thank you.
Outstanding.
Okay, please introduce yourself with your address.
Eric Sorensen, 806 North 4th Street, here in Lakeview. And just to make the comment of helping people with disabilities that are in a position where they are, one, needing help, two, asking for help, and are, three, unable to make the life changes unaided in their life, that I am 100% in support of this process, that this is not a one-size-fits-all, solves all problems in Lakeview. This is a portion of the problem, and this is the best possible way that I am aware of to solve our problems that have been in existence for many, many years. Focusing especially on those who want help, and we surround them with the support that they need to make those life changes. And we give them the time, stability, and support that they need to make those life changes. And so, yes, I am 100% in support of this project and this zoning change.
Thank you, Mr. Sorensen. All right. Who else is here to speak in favor of the applicant? Okay. All right. Does anybody have questions for Mr. Sorensen? Please direct it through me. All right.
I do.
Okay.
My question is, if they state that it's, oh, I'm sorry.
Podium.
My name,
To the podium, please.
my name is Denise Lindsay. I live at 118 North L Street, Lakeview, Oregon. My question is that it states how the Lake County Hospital is behind this. Is he the only representative on this issue? And if they are, why aren't they here tonight? My second question is that we live in a county where for years and years and years we've battled with maintaining a public health, mental public health for the people in Lake County. They have failed over and over again to maintain a consistent program for these people. So that's another question. Why aren't they here speaking out saying, yeah, we can do this, we've got it covered? These are things that really need to be addressed. And I know from experience, I have a daughter.
You are gearing towards testimony in opposition.
Okay,
You have a question.
I oppose to not having them stating that there's representatives and there's people behind it, and they're not here saying, yes, I'm from the Lake District Hospital, I represent them, and I approve of this. That's what I'm stating.
Sorry, the question is, there are other representatives from the hospital.
Yeah.
Mr. Sorensen, like,
Absolutely. I can't actually speak for the CEO or the directors of various departments. I'm not their boss. I have their assurances that, yes, they are in support of this and they are backing it. So at a zone change meeting, I do not know why they are not here. As far as the mental health component, I also do not know why a director or assistant director is not here. That's not my ability to make people appear. What I can say is that I have spoken with them. They are in the team. They are active participants in every meeting. And so, yes, they are in support and we are willing to make those. I am one of the official representatives of the hospital on this project. So, yes.
May I ask a question?
Certainly, come to podium, please.
Hi, my name is Ron Donald. I live at 610 South First Street. And the last meeting that I was able to attend, our sheriff made it clear that he was represented as being in favor of this, and he made it clear that he was not. My question to Eric and anybody else involved, I guess Eric, because we're asking him questions, is, has that changed? Has he changed his stance on that? Because I did miss a little bit of the ongoing thing, so I'm just curious. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger.
Yep.
The short answer to that is he has been invited to meetings. He has not attended. He has not conveyed to the team that he is either in support or in opposition to this particular project. And so, yes, we have made attempts to invite him to meetings. With the COVID-19 restrictions, getting attendance at any meeting is a difficult thing at this point in time. As we go forward, we will be incorporating those invitations again and again and again. But as far as I know, I have not had personal contact with the sheriff regarding his stance on this issue. So I have not spoken with Mr. Jacob. So I do not know where he stands at this point.
Last time he said he didn't support it.
Made it clear.
Exactly. All right, are there other questions for the proponents?
I have a question for the attorney.
Okay, please come to the podium, state your name and address. Jennifer, this is directed towards you.
My name is Sonny Matthews. I reside at 18743 Lake Ridge Road, Lakeview, Oregon. My question is that in previous meetings, it has been stated that no pedophiles or violent criminals could be housed in this potential project. But under the Fair Housing Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act, that's not the case. So how are you going to delineate and how are you going to yourself discriminate against such individuals?
Thank you.
Good question.
Would you care to respond to that?
Jennifer?
Oh, this is Jennifer. I was gonna wait to hear people's comments and then respond at the end, if that's possible.
All right. Other questions for the proponent?
I'm Ed Henry. I live at 1238 North 3rd Street in Lakeview. I have a question for Mr. Sorensen. If the hospital is so behind this, have they thought of putting this down at the hospital? They have all the infrastructure down there. They have some room down there for
Same amount of room.
more of this.
Once again, I am not the CEO of the hospital, nor am I on the hospital board, so I cannot speak to their decisions or their thinking process. That's not my place. What I can say is that I am unaware that any property on the hospital is not, I do not know what its intention is per the hospital board or the plan for the hospital. That is not what I am aware of. What I am is we have an opportunity at this spot, and while I appreciate volunteering other places, That is not what we're doing here at this point in time right now. We're talking about a spot, and we're asking for rezoning on this spot. I would suggest if you have a question regarding the hospital's intention, bring it up at the hospital board or with the CEO. I do not know what other intentions they have for property.
In the back?
Seeing how you struck the gavel, Mark Stuba, 20560 Christian Road. Seeing how you struck the gavel when Mr. Sarenson made a comment that the sheriff has not made any stance, yea or nay, I want to go on record, he was here at that town council meeting, and he said he did not support it. Okay, and he said the word was getting out that the sheriff's office was in support of it. So I just want that to go on record, okay? Because there are some mistruths about this, and I will discuss it later when we're come to the opposition part. Thank you.
Reminder, this portion is for questions to proponents. You have another question?
Do I have to get up there? It started with Eric. You didn't have to get up there, so do I.
As long as you can make yourself heard,
I
and
can.
with people online.
I kind of got confused because on her statement, she said this was the only property made available. Well, since the town council meeting in June, that has not been the case. I know of 2 properties that have
Is
been
this a
brought.
question?
Well, yeah, because you said this is the only property. That's, what is the facts? Is this the only property, or is this the property that has been pursued?
To address that,
Can someone repeat what the woman was speaking, who was just speaking? Could you repeat what she said, because I couldn't hear anything?
Jennifer, the question she asked was, is this the only property that has been made available for this particular project, or are there others? In a nutshell, they're asking since the meeting, are there any other properties that are proposed sites or anything along those lines?
I have had conversations around other properties. To describe one of them, we encouraged a person to talk with their neighbors. Their neighbor said, and I will quote this, "I will not burn it down myself, but I will make sure it burns down. And I will burn your house down as well." To describe the desire to help people in our town. Yes, I am always looking for opportunity to help people and to provide them a safe, stable, and supportive environment. I do that. Have I had any opportunities? I don't have them yet. I don't have details, and I don't have a working plan. I have one for this property. This is what we're talking about today. This is all we're talking about today at this meeting for zoning change. This is all I have.
Okay. Sir?
This is just opposition, right?
Questions.
Questions.
Questions for the proponent.
Questions to the support.
Question, my name is Wayne Bashir, and,
Your address.
What?
Your address.
I live out on, by the airport.
I got it, don't worry, Ramona.
And, my question here is, number one, I agree with what Mark said. I talked to the sheriff, the 27th of July, at my daughter's wedding, and, June. And he was adamantly against this, so that's out of the way. I got a question. Since you're so concerned with all these people in the hospital, is concerned with all of these homeless people, how about a fair housing deal for the people that already live there? I've got 3 great grandkids that live within 12 feet of this thing. Now, are we gonna have, you're gonna check all these people, right? That come into the homeless shelter, make sure they're not, whatever, those sex offender guys are. They told us that at the hospital too. and the majority of the people out there are in there because of that, Eric. Now, there ought to be some fairness in this Fair Housing Act for the people that already live in that area. You know, the people that pay the taxes.
What is your question for the proponents? What is your question for the proponents?
My question is, can he guarantee that there's not gonna be these kind of people in there 12 feet from my grandkids? Can you guarantee that, Eric? Can you? Because the people that you're perpetrating this on, Eric, they live there, they work hard, they pay taxes, which goes to pay your wages as well as your wife's, so you can dream up these stupid projects.
Okay, Mr. Bashir, please give an opportunity. Give him the opportunity to address your question, please.
I just addressed it.
No.
Yes, yeah, let him answer.
Let him answer.
They answered. No, I haven't said it. Can you guarantee it? What I'm asking.
I am not the applicant, so I am limited.
Certainly are.
One moment, please.
Yes, please.
My question is that those questions for the proponent may be more directed toward their attorney
Pretty big.
than with Mr. Sorensen.
Okay. Will you be addressing those issues in your rebuttal as well?
I heard the last gentleman who was talking about his kids and guaranteeing particular tenants, and then I think someone else might have been speaking, but I didn't hear what they said.
Right. The gist of the question was, can you guarantee there will not be pedophiles in residence?
He also wanted to know, the rights of the people who are in the community.
Okay. Yeah, I'll address those later.
Okay, she has stated she will address those later in her rebuttal.
My question is for the council, because in your opening, you stated don't repeat yourself, don't ask questions over and over. This is not exactly equal opportunity dynamic. We're all sitting here with the same questions or versions of the same questions, and she's not answering.
Right, she has stated she will answer all the questions at the end. I'm sure she's taking notes of all your questions.
So we're gonna just continue to ask the same questions
Questions
or
over and
variations of the same questions.
No, if you're asking the same questions, I will shut you down because we've said no redundant questions. These are questions for the proponent. This is not testimony against the project. Please keep that in mind when you speak.
Well, I was asking about the pedophiles,
Yes.
and then Mr. Bashir then came behind me and again asked about pedophilia, so I'm just wondering if we're
It will be
continuing the
addressed.
subject matter.
We've got one more question in the back.
Are we allowed to also ask you questions on protocol on this?
Certainly.
My name is Heather Eversole, and I live at David Ward North Second Street. And first, I just have a question for you guys as a planning board. What the procedure is when somebody comes here and has actually received an adequate letter that expresses what's going on. What is the procedure that you guys go through with people who want to dispute that? How does that work? Is it that night that it's determined? Do you meet later? How does this usually work? I'm just curious for me on how that works.
Mr. Evans, would you like to address the legal issues behind that?
Sure, everything that has been received on the record is being considered this evening, so once all the evidence is closed, the commission will deliberate on what's been submitted to them. So if you have anything to say pro, con, or neutral and have questions, it better be presented, or you wait if that was specifically stated at the beginning of this. So if there's anything that you want to deal with, make comments or whatever, your time will be coming after the question period. That's what this, right now, what has been set forward is you have questions for the proponents of the application. Just like, so that's where it is currently.
So that was my main question, because I'm not sure if this other question that I have for Eric is one that is fitting forward what tonight is with the zoning. But I was curious if on these other properties that they looked at, do you have a committee that looked at different buildings? I'm sorry, my hands are done red. I was dying.
We have a team, they are meeting Wednesday. And I am on that team. We will be looking at options, yes. If this fails, we're going to keep going. We're going to find a way to help people and solve problems in our town. If this doesn't happen, then yes, we're not giving up. This is what we have now as the opportunity.
And other properties have been discussed already to this point, or just the one that someone threatened to burn down? Because I'm just curious if that's all it takes is. Correct, yeah.
I have been at this for 15 years. I have heard lots of ideas, lots of opportunities, and so I hear pretty much the same opposition every time. But I'm comfortable with them. Yes, we will keep looking at opportunities, we will keep looking at properties if this doesn't happen. This is the opportunity we have, this is what we're discussing. Not what potentials are out there if this doesn't happen. Right now, this is what we're discussing.
I've got Eversole, I live in 804 North Second Street. In this application, it says multi-family units, family being the key word here. One bedroom, I don't know how you're gonna put a family in that. So I don't understand how you can call this a multi-family unit if they're one unit, apartments. So I just want to know how you figure that's a family unit.
The definition is in the ordinance development code, and it's multi-user, multi-occupant dwelling, yeah.
So you have in your paperwork this multi-family, so that's incorrect on there?
No,
It should say something else?
No, that is the legal terminology that's used for multi-occupancy or multi-unit situations for living situations.
So we can expect to see families living in one-bedroom units?
Family is not the definition. Family is just
What it says.
that's what it's titled, but that isn't what it means. What it means is
That's ridiculous.
that's the law.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Okay, one more question?
You've got my name and my address, I just want to point you to this, staff report on Lakeview. I've got some questions about that, I don't know if it's for the committee or for Eric or the proposers, but, first question is, since I've been made aware of this situation, I've heard everything from this multi-family housing is gonna be anywhere from 10 to 12, and then the number moved from 12 to 15. Now on this document it says 15 to 18, okay? One-bedroom units. I don't know how, other than using a shoehorn, they're gonna put 18 one-bedroom units on that lot. So that's one question I'd like to know. What is the correct answer and what's the answer that they're going to stick with? Another question on page 3 talks about land use planning as far as goal 6, air, water, and land resources quality, maintain and improve the quality of air, water, and land resources. Proposed use will reduce solid waste volume and town water use compared to historic use. I don't know how that's going to happen because you've got supposedly plans to have people there 24 hours a day. They're all going to be using water. They're all going to be using the sewer facilities. So I don't know where they came with that. And then the last question is on page 5. And I guess I'll address it to you folks too. About the second to last paragraph. While 1919 population projections anticipate growth due to the Warner Creek Correctional Facility, population has in fact declined. Population was 3,175 persons in 2019. It's projected to decline to 3,173 persons in 2039, a reduction of 2 people. That statement, are they talking about Lakeview or are they talking about the population of the prison? Because if you're talking about Lakeview, I've been in Lakeview 42 years. I have not seen those numbers since I was in high school in '79. So I just want to find out where that came from. So to me, there's a lot of, in my opinion, mistruths that are coming out. And I think that's why a lot of people are here, because they care about their community. Thank you.
Please hold, no applause, we're trying to get through this.
I got one more question.
One more question.
I was just wondering, can I get an answer to those questions?
At the end.
That will be addressed, right?
Okay.
You're about.
Okay, right here. It says the applicants want to convert the existing building. The existing building? Have you seen it? How are they gonna convert the existing building to a multi-family housing? It doesn't make sense to me. They're gonna have to tear that building down. Let's be honest here. You cannot convert a meat locker into a 15 to 18 one-bedroom unit. So once again, more discrepancies in your reports. So that's my question. You're gonna use the existing building.
Other questions before we go on to testimony in opposition? Yes?
2 years ago, that street flooded. I'm not sure McGarvis know that, they weren't in town at the time, but these guys were here, and that sucker flooded. If you put a basement in that building, it's gonna flood. The creek is there, the dam is there, and it's still flooded. If you put America's most vulnerable in a housing facility on that corner, this community takes liable for that. They don't maintain the ditches,
Your question?
they don't maintain the creeks. My question is who's going to pay for it besides me and them? If in the event something happens to those most vulnerable among us.
Okay, those who are here to present and who oppose the application will be heard. Individuals will be allowed 3 minutes. Correspondence in opposition to the application will be entered into the record. We will start with correspondence.
Yeah, I don't know if it's too late. So there is a letter, I guess today's date, from Jesse and Betty Alexander. There is a letter from.
Speak louder, please.
There is a letter from Jedediah Adams and Maria Adams dated July 13, 2020. There is a letter dated July 13, 2020 from Sharon Fitzgerald in opposition. And then there were the prior written comments received, specifically the letter dated June 3rd from Dale and Suzette Ackerman of 245 North L Street. The letter dated June 3rd from Clint and Jolene Ray, no address. The letter dated June 3rd from Jed and Maria Adams, no address. The letter dated June 3rd from Betty and Paul John, 303 North L Street. The letter dated June 4th from Denise S. Lindsay, 118 North L Street. The letter dated June 4th from Keegan S. Lindsay, no address. The letter undated from Grady and Brianne Vandenberg of 244 North L Street. Second letter undated from Grady and Brianne Vandenberg, 244 North L Street. Letter undated from Pam Lill, 1117 North 3rd Street. and 3 copies of a petition with a combined of 80 signatures. All in opposition.
Thank you. Okay. Testimony in opposition. Mr. Decker?
Hi, my name is Teresa Decker. I believe this request should not be approved as this plan is not sufficiently consistent with the planning goals of our town and our state. So if you read your town policies, please keep these things in mind. I'll address some of your goals as put in your town policy. As Mark brought up, we want to talk about the water and the solid waste volume. While the usage might be less than the locker, as stated, 15 to 18 single-use apartments is far more usage than a couple of single-family homes if those were to be put in that area and we left it as single-family homes. Economic development, I disagree. There will be short-term economic gains with construction, that's great, but the project is going to increase the burden on the taxpayer. We're going to have 15 to 18 people that are using services funded by the public. Mental health, public health, state insurance, food vouchers, low-income housing supplements are just some of them. That burden falls to us. That's an economic burden on your county and your town. There has not been a population change, so there is not a need for more housing. The population is forecast to decline over the period of 2019 to 2039. This was the Town of Lakeview Housing Needs Analysis done in June of 2019. We have multi-family zoned areas available. Multi-family use should be put in our current multi-family zoned areas. We do not need to change the zoning. There are areas available. List here. I'm not aware that all tenants that would be in this multifamily unit are required to be disabled or have mental health issues. I'm not aware of that. So I don't feel like that is something that the council can say. I don't think that it's a discriminating thing to say I'm not going to zone this multifamily because not everybody is required to have that disability from what I know. Perhaps doing something different. Most areas in Lakeview that are zoned multifamily are walkable to services like the store, or there's a senior bus or county transportation that can get them to the Safeway store. So it doesn't have to be within 6 blocks. It can be a mile away from Safeway. It can be 12 blocks away from Safeway. That needs to be considered.
And that's your time.
Okay. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Revolt. Next.
Me again. The question, or the information that was brought up about the remodeling versus completely getting rid of it, okay? To me, from what I understand, and maybe I can be corrected, but I think the reason why we're in this situation is because the property in question is just filled with black mold. Okay? So how can you just go in there and say, okay, well, we'll remodel and be 100% sure that that has been taken care of? Brings up another situation. Seeing how there is black mold there, what about the, impact to the neighbors right now. That's a health issue, you know? Thing is, I want to go on record that I am in opposition to this. To echo Eric, 100%, okay? Because I feel that in Lakeview, when we have an issue, we all come together. We all come together as a community. And I truly believe that this is driving a wedge into this community. And so, to me, those are warning signs, okay? The other thing is, you know, the term that I picked up when Eric was talking was now, you know, I don't know, only he knows, but it's like he's putting on a guilt trip on everybody. People with disabilities. That's the first time I've heard that. And I don't, you know, I've been in law enforcement, federal law enforcement for 28 and a half years. And I have never, ever considered somebody that with a criminal record, okay, a felon or what have you, as having that as a disability. Okay? And last thing, I guess, before the chime goes off is, I believe when Eric talked, it's like, you've got 20 minutes, Eric. But then anybody talking opposition, there's a time when we got 3. Okay? So once again, I'm in opposition to this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments and your respect for the time. Next.
So I have a hunch that the reason the people with disabilities are being mentioned at this time and being focused on is because then with the Fair Housing Act, that there'll be a stance then taken if this doesn't get passed. Yes, where it's leverage, to try and then sue the town to make this happen. And I'm putting that out there right now because I think that's how underhanded, not saying Eric is, but I'm saying as a whole, they are about this procedure and what they want to force through. My thoughts on the building that has asbestos and black mold, I went there. I was gonna buy some of the plastic totes that they had when they got their building back, their business back. And I didn't buy them because of that black mold that was all over those things. Now, those are being removed from that building. They're not something that's structurally there that you have to worry about. But it doesn't just limit itself to the surfaces of things that are gonna be removed. And that building does also have asbestos in it. I feel like the garbage don't care what they're leaving behind here because there's a financial gain there, and that's also why I feel that they went and got the attorney that they did. It's because, I want to be politically correct about saying the terminology that I'm thinking, but I think they're passing the stink off to us and then going. I think it's wrong to say disabilities only because they're going to be criminals that are there also, which I see all the time from my job. Just the day after we were here last time, I had 2 individuals go into the Newcomb's house that were screaming and yelling and throwing things from walking from the store. And that's what you're increasing in our neighborhood is that people who are, I'm sorry, you said we can't label them that way to the attorney, but that is what we are talking about. I would encourage, first off, for you guys to at least table this until an attorney could be talked to more in depth about what it is that we're opening up to the community by you guys, not by us. I believe that in your forms from McGarva, that it said that there was 25 years sustainability still in the residential housing in Lakeview. This isn't something that we need to push through so fast and accept because the property's there. Because I think that it's a hornet's nest that's being stirred up, and how everybody feels as an individual in our community, which is like a big neighborhood, is important. Thank you.
Thank you. Next comment.
She brings me right to my point. First of all, it's scary as hell when the lawyer's first comment brings up the Americans with Disabilities Act. That's an indicator right off the bat, that's a big fat threat. I feel bad for you guys because you're put in that position. Second point, Lakeview's codes have not been re-upped. None of that stuff has been revisited since the 80s. Are you really equipped to deal with this? Are you really equipped to deal with that kind of threat on a daily, damn basis when we're as vulnerable as we are? You can't come up with a $35,000, $40,000 to revisit our coding, to make our ordinances clear. If you check Monola County, every lawsuit these clowns deal with, it comes back and it bites the town council, the mayoral association, and its commissioners in the butt. The lawsuits come out of the taxpayer dollars because these guys are lobbyists. This isn't an attorney McGarvis hired. She's an attorney that the grief behind McGarvis hired. Let's not kid ourselves.
Next. And I will remind you that this is public testimony or factual evidence, no personal attacks, please. Not suggesting you were, no, meeting is going in that direction. You just have to be.
Anyway, I just wanted to say that I'm obviously opposed to this, but I have to agree with some things that were just brought up. I'm terribly concerned with the way the lawyer opened that up. We are going to be pressed and pushed into doing things that we're not equipped to deal with here. And all of a sudden, we're at a juncture where we can't even ask about the people that are gonna be coming into that neighborhood because they have disabilities. I personally know a lot of these people that are claiming to be homeless here, and there is a part of the population that have mental problems, and that is what leads to this. But the main part of these people are not, their disabilities are self-chosen through actions. I'm trying not to be super judgy here at all. I'm just making a point. I know a lot of these people through what I do. They're couch hopping and they're choosing a lifestyle that they're choosing. And now all of a sudden we can't ask questions about these people that are going to be coming and going. Some of these people's property values are dropping and stuff. This is very serious, and it sounds like we're going to get pushed into doing this, whether we want to or not. And I don't think it's going to benefit our town. That's my opinion. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Eversole?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, that if this project is okay, you will, ruin my home, the price of my home. Is the town able to take that hit in tax dollars when the value of my home goes in the toilet along with everything else there? Because that's what's gonna happen. You need to consider that, losing that tax base to take care of, they say 18, everybody keeps saying 18 people. You need to multiply that. You're looking at 36 minimum to be in that little place. I guarantee you, because they all have partners, and they're all gonna have friends, and they're all gonna go and crash there. There are no stipulations to them in any way, the people that live there. They have the rights of a tenant once they go in there and try and get a tenant removed. Some of these people in here are landlords, they own places around, they know what it's like. They won't get them out. Once you make this unit the way it is, you're gonna ruin everything in that part of town, and the town better be ready to lose that tax base, because that's what's gonna happen.
My name is Rob Walters, I live at 219 Northville. Their driveway with the I have a family that I am concerned about, but our men in blue are not being considered here. They are going to be down there constantly. It's constant at Newcomb's place. They don't have time for this. But I really don't want to be having to protect my family and my neighbors the way I'm going to have to if this happens, because these guys are not going to stay out of my yard. And if they don't, I can't be
I had a really hard time hearing that last speaker. I know you mentioned men in blue being there constantly and protect my family, but I didn't hear much else.
He was concerned with extra burden on law enforcement, and he shares a driveway with the Locker's property, so concerned with easement and trespass.
And also, about the care of his family, he's worried about that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, next speaker, please.
Again, my name's Ed Henry, 1238 North Third. I'm a retired Oregon State Police Sergeant and former Sheriff of Lake County. I'm here to talk about the project and with the location of the residential setting with children, older residents, rental property, and a questionable parking situation. I want to go on record that I am 100% opposed to this project at this location. I've heard people say that this won't take any Lake County tax dollars. Well, who pays the taxes in this state and the federal government if it isn't Lake County? I've read in the paper that Lakeview residents are scared of this project. We're not scared of this project. We're concerned. That's why we're here. I've listened to the reasoning that the project needs to be close in so that people can walk uptown and get their services. There's not a place in town you can't walk. I've also been told that there have been homeless people relocated from other areas into Lake County. And in some cases, they're providing housing. This concerns me. It's doing a disservice to the people of Lake County, particularly Lakeview, and the services provided by Lake County. It's my experience that individuals who are homeless for a variety of reasons, one because of their lifestyle, the choices they've made, and some unforeseen circumstances. Again, I would be opposed to this project. I would like to thank the group that is behind this project and the time they've put in on it, but this is not the location to set this project up. Thank you.